Hello, everyone. Would like to welcome you to our webcast today. My name is Nathan Eliason, and today I'm going to be joined by Jim Ochoa and Garrick Ballantyne. And together we're going to talk about how PLM 360 can help improve your product quality management processes. Now, at the end of our presentation today, we will have a call to action. We just want to make you aware of that so that you can stay till the end. We want to give you a way that you can experience PLM 360 for yourself and also learn how to configure, how to set it up so that you can see how that will work inside of your organization. Now, to start off our presentation, I just wanted to take a moment to talk about product lifecycle management itself and to discuss how those related processes are very critical to your organization. PLM processes really include the collection of business processes that we use to plan, define, build, support, and improve the products and services that your company offers. These really are the lifeblood of your company, and how well you do these directly impacts the growth and profitability that your company experiences as well. Now, over the course of the product lifecycle, there are a lot of people that play an important role across the enterprise, and that can be your employees, it can be external customers, it can be some of your suppliers, and other partners that help you produce those goods and services that you provide to your customers. So it's really impossible to overstate the importance of this collection of processes to the overall health of your company. Now, over the past few months, we've conducted several of these webinars where we've talked about change management, item and BOM management, and new product introduction. And those are topics that we'll potentially revisit in future webcasts as well. And today, what we're really going to focus is on the quality management piece. Now, I want to emphasize that PLM 360 is not just a point solution, but rather it's a collection of all these different applications that work together in a seamless way to help connect your processes and to help you manage them efficiently. So over here on the right, you can see a partial list of only some of the applications and processes that come out of the box with PLM 360. And they come with configurable templates so that you can make these processes work inside of your organization. Now, some of these, as you can probably tell, are quality related. And so some of these are some processes that we'll discuss throughout our presentation today. So I first want to, discuss why quality is so important. Really quality defines your reputation and helps build your brand loyalty amongst your customers. If you can think back to any product that maybe you purchased, I think we've all purchased some products in our lives that we felt the construction wasn't very good of the products. Maybe we felt that it didn't work as intended. We were always having problems with it. And so our perception of that product and by extension that company was that it was a low quality company. On the other hand, we can think of some great products out there, some great companies that build great products. And as we think about those companies, they have a lot of brand loyalty. Because their products are so good, a lot of times they're even able to charge a premium for the products and the services that they provide. So for that reason, quality is extremely important to build our own brand, to build our own customer loyalty, and to also help us increase our profits and our margins as a company. So how PLM 360 can help us with our quality related processes is first, it provides a central repository where we can store all of the quality data that we collect. So rather than being on forms that are written on paper and filed in some filing cabinet, or whether it's a bunch of disparate Excel spreadsheets that, each one contains its own set of information and it's hard to connect that data, with PLM 360, it's all stored within a central location. Now, the other advantage of that is that means that others within your organization can easily access that information. So imagine you have an engineer that's creating the next iteration of a product. It would be useful for them to understand some of the problems with the current generation so that they can make corrections and improvements, and over time your products get better and better and the quality continues to improve. This also brings up the third bullet point here, where with all of that data in one location, we can perform queries to proactively discover potential issues that our customers are experiencing or that we're experiencing in our manufacturing process. And with these queries, again, we can take a proactive stance to improve the quality rather than always being so reactive with feedback that we get from our customers. And then finally, as I mentioned earlier, with PLM 360, it's not just a point solution for quality, but rather the quality application can spawn change orders. It can integrate with the bills of materials that you have. So all of these different applications that we have with PLM 360, they work together to make your internal business processes more efficient. Now, just as an example of that, so here we have a really good pictorial graph that shows you, we all know that we go through our new product development. As we go through our product development process and we launch our products to customers, we're going to get some feedback from them. There are potential issues that might come up. We might get some complaints. We might get some product failures. As we have this feedback with our customer, we're able to determine what the root causes are. We're able to run some analyses and come up with some long-term and some short-term fixes to the problems. And as we do this discovery with our quality management system, then we're able to, right within the same system, execute these change orders that are then going to affect our design, our product, our engineering data, and this cycle will continue to repeat itself, and our quality will only get better over time. Now, I wanted to divide the quality modules that we're going to talk about today into a couple of different buckets here. Whenever we do inspections of parts that we make internally or parts that we receive from our vendor, we're trying to catch problems before they ever make it out to the customer. It's cheaper to us to find problems beforehand than to try to fix a problem afterwards. And it really is a proactive approach because we want to fix problems before our customer ever sees it. Now, notice that all of these processes are connected. So if we find some issues with some inspections, then we can issue non-conformance reports. And when we have a collection of many non-conformance reports and we determine that there's a bigger fix that needs to be made, those reports can lead into corrective and preventive actions. Now, on the flip side, we have some more reactive quality processes. So, for example, if it's a small product and it gets returned to your factory, that would be an RMA, and we can take those in, we can figure out what's wrong and make some corrective actions based on the problems that we find. And then, of course, if our product is too big, if you think a large industrial machine or maybe one of the appliances that you have in your home, you're not going to send your refrigerator back to the manufacturer, but rather they're going to send someone out on site to troubleshoot the problem and to help you fix it so that it fits. So regardless of how the customer issues are being handled, PLM 360 can help you document all of that, and then it can help push you to that next action, which is correcting it and making change orders that are going to drive your engineering and your product data. So for the demonstration portion of today, I'm going to go through a couple of different scenarios. First we're going to take this cap that you see right here. This is an injection molded part that's part of the PC board. And we're going to just quickly walk through an inspection process and see how that works. And in our second scenario, we're going to look at more of an RMA type story where we have this card that goes inside of a PC, and in this scenario we're going to say some customers have called in with some complaints. Their computers haven't been turning on. The manufacturer determined that it was a problem with our card, so now we need to go in and find out why these capacitors are missing, and we need to address and fix that problem. So with PLM 360, as soon as I log in, the very first screen I come across is my home screen. And my home screen is very important because it gives me a lot of rich information at a quick glance. Maybe, for example, since I'm talking about quality today, maybe I real quickly want to find out about my RMAs. What products have had the most RMAs? Of the RMAs that have come in, what type of issues have we seen a pattern with? So here I can find patterns very quickly, and maybe we find right here that we have this electrical issue, so it's something that we want to address sooner rather than later. In addition to that, I have a list of the outstanding work that I need to do, so I can quickly know, hey, do I need to participate in a process? Do I need to approve something? Do I need to get some work done? And quickly have links to get my work done as quickly as possible. And then in addition, down here, I have quick access to some of the most recent records and applications that I've been working on so that I can click on those and very quickly navigate my way around PLM 360. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to open up an inspection report. And for this particular inspection, maybe we received a lot of 10,000 of these parts in our receiving area. So right now we need to find out, is this lot good or is it not good? So as a quality assurance person, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to type in this part. I'm going to find the associated quality inspection plan, and then I'm going to start measuring those parts to determine if they're good or if they're not good. Now, in order for me to do that, I first need a quality inspection plan that's set up. So if we look at the quality inspection plan, this is something that is generally created by a quality engineer. So this isn't going to be a member of the quality assurance team that's actually doing the inspection, but this is going to be an engineer that looks at these parts and comes up with a sampling procedure. So in this case, we know that each lot we purchase, we're going to randomly select 36 pieces, and we're going to inspect those. And we also need to have an acceptable quality level. So in this case, the 2.8% dictates that if we have 1 or 0 parts that fail, then we can accept the full lot. If we have 2 or more that fail, then we have to reject that lot, and we have to determine later what we want to do with that. And I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Now, in addition to that, more than likely for a lot of the parts, it's not going to be feasible to check every single dimension. So we want to provide the quality assurance inspectors with some type of information that clearly states these are the critical dimensions that we want you to measure when you inspect each of the parts of the 36 parts that we're going to inspect. More than that, you also want to help define how they're going to take those measurements. Is it calipers? Is it a CMM machine? Is it a go, no-go gauge? Maybe it's just a visual inspection. You're looking for cosmetic scratches or imperfections. And then we're going to assign an associated tolerance that we're going to use to determine whether or not the part is good or bad. So I'm going to go back to our inspection. And once we pull that up as an inspector, that we're currently inspecting a slot that has arrived on our receiving dock, I can go in here and first of all of this information that we just looked at is pulled over automatically from that quality inspection plan that I just walked you through. So as an inspector, I just need to go through and add the actual values that I measure. And then PLM 360 is going to automatically calculate the deviation from our actual measurement and our nominal measurement. And then it's going to give me this nice, easy to understand flag that allows me to know, did my dimensions pass or did they fail? Now, even more importantly than that, it's also going to let me know if I'm on the cusp of a particular dimension failing. In this case, this is an injection molded part. So if this dimension is consistently, on the fence, it might indicate to me that there's some wear in my tool. And it might indicate to me that I should have a meeting with my supplier to determine if we need to do some maintenance on our tool to ensure that the future parts we receive are all within tolerance and are all within our specifications that we provide. In addition to that, when we do an inspection, each inspection that you make, it will either pass or it's going to fail. So with PLM 360, if all of those dimensions that I put in there pass our test, then it's going to let me put it in the pass state. If any of those fail, then it's going to put me in the fail state. And as I mentioned before, if I get 2 or more failures per lot, then potentially I'm going to have to create a non-conformance report. So let's say that we did have 2 or more failures inside of our lot. The next decision we have to make is, what do we do about this lot that we determined is unacceptable? It might be that the issue that you've uncovered isn't so bad and you can still use the parts, so maybe we can use them as is. Maybe the out of spec is a problem, but there's a way that we can rework them. Maybe it's just a small number of them that failed, so we can quickly go through the dimensions that failed on all of the parts. Like in this case, if it were a lot of 500, maybe we can go through those and determine what are the good ones, separate the good ones from the bad ones, or maybe we just outright reject the whole shipment and send that back to our customer. But we want to make sure that we decide how we're going to disposition the lot, and we want to make sure that we record information about its disposition. In addition to that, anytime we have to reject parts, whether that's internal or external, there's going to be some type of an impact. It may be very little impact. It may be that the production line had to be shut down. It may be that we missed a customer promise date for a shipment because the parts were bad. So here we want to quantify and identify what the impact is. And once we have this information, as I mentioned before with reporting, we can go through and we can say, hey, which of our vendors have we been having the most problems with? And which ones have been having the most negative impact to our production flow? And so by having this information, you can either understand whether or not you need to potentially go find another vendor or an alternative vendor, or maybe you need to set up some type of an audit where you can go in and have a meeting with your vendor and you can discuss ways that you can improve the quality and that they can make you better parts before they arrive onto your receiving dock. Now, as I mentioned previously, when we have a lot of different non-conformance reports, we can find patterns. And when we find patterns, that can potentially lead to taking some type of action to prevent these problems from happening in the future. And that would issue a corrective and preventive action. I'm going to come back to that in a minute, because right now what I want to do is I want to rewind a little bit, and I want to talk about the returned merchandise authorization process that we have inside of PLM 360. Now, inside of PLM 360, this isn't so much about issuing a customer a refund or taking care of necessarily the financial aspect of it, but rather the RMA is to find what the problem is that the customers have shown us, and then to determine some way that we can address and fix the problem more from a long-term perspective. So as I mentioned, we've received this part back from the customer, and typically when you get an RMA, it's going to go to a service technician, and the service technician is going to start inspecting the part to determine what the problem is. Now, often when you have these service technicians out there, most everyone today has either some type of a mobile device that can easily take pictures, whether that's a smartphone or a tablet or some other mobile device. However, typically what they have to do is when they take pictures to document the problem, they might email it to themselves, they might store it on the cloud, and then later they go back and they may or may not use that as part of their problem report or their RMA report. Well, with PLM 360, because we have mobile applications, directly from their phones or their tablets, they can go into the RMA record and they can start snapping pictures that automatically upload and become part of that RMA record. And so it opens up a very powerful and easy workflow so that you can capture more information. And again, once that information is captured centrally, it opens it up so that more people within the organization can understand some of the problem and can get access to that rich information that they need to start the troubleshooting process. Now, obviously, as they're going through inspecting what the problem is on the RMA, they're going to find out that there's, some failure that happened, and you're going to have some classification that you're going to classify the failure for. You're going to add notes. In this case, we notice that the capacitors have appeared to have been removed mechanically. Soldering, everything looked like it was fine. So we know that there's some problem happening here with our PC board that we were talking about. Now notice that we can link back to our bill of materials that we have, and we can directly bring in those part numbers right here, and we can determine the problem parts that we're experiencing with our RMA. And we can have lots of information about that, what is the root cause for each of these parts that we're seeing the problem for. Now, this is very key because we can find out later, once we build up our library, we can determine, hey, does this part only have this problem in this one assembly? Or maybe this part has the same problem across multiple assemblies and multiple products. And so by having this information in a central location, we're able to connect the dots, to connect those processes, so that we have a very powerful way to track and query the data that we're monitoring. Now in this case, again, as I mentioned, maybe this leads to a Kappa, corrective and preventive action request. So I want to finish my demonstration here by talking about the Kappa process that we have inside of PLM 360. Now this is based on the 8 disciplines problem solving way of going about and approaching a problem, which basically says that once you develop the plan on how you want to approach the problem, the first thing you need to do is assign a team that has the right knowledge of the product and the processes, that they can do proper root cause analysis, and they can determine potential ways to fix the problem. In addition to that, we want to define, what the problem is. In this case, the problem might be that the parts don't work, the computers don't work, and we might have an initial hypothesis. We might have an initial hypothesis that the heat sink is impacting the capacitors during shipping. So we know that there's a lot of vibration as these get transported, and there might be the tolerance so small between that enclosure cap or the heat sink and the capacitor that is actually knocking it off during shipping. With that in place, we want to come up with an interim containment plan. Basically want some type of a short-term solution and a fix. In this case, maybe we want to allow the use of a smaller diameter capacitor. So we create some type of a deviation that allows us to use this change in the process temporarily while we come up with the long-term fix. And then we want to, once again, do some analysis on this to really come up with what is the root cause of these problems. So when we do our root cause analysis, we find that the cover cap clearance is inadequate. That's really what most of the problem is, regardless of the tolerances. And we want to verify that that's the problem. So we want to have some kind of testing where we can reproduce the problem and we can understand, what problem our customer is seeing. Once we have the cause analyzed appropriately, then we can start coming up with alternate ways to address the problem. We could permanently change it to a smaller diameter, but that will adversely affect the average life of our product. We can change the plastic cover design, which is going to fix the problem, but it's going to result in some tooling costs that are going to potentially be costly and make us wait, maybe 7 to 8 weeks before we can get new parts in the door using for production. We could also potentially change the PC board layout and move the capacitors themselves. But as we know, each of these potential ways to fix it are going to have some pros and some cons. And so this is going to allow us to go through and make a good decision on how we want to fix our problem long term. And again, you always want to verify it by running some test samples to make sure that the fix that you're going to propose is in reality going to address the problem and fix it long term. Once we have all of that figured out, then the next thing we want to do is we want to implement and validate the fixes that we've come up with. And again, this is where the power of PLM 360, being able to integrate your quality management system with your change management system, offers you a very flexible and powerful workflow. Because now, right from our Kappa, we can spawn a change request, and with that change request, we can pull the appropriate information from all of the different bills of materials that are effective, and we can alert engineering that they need to start making these changes so that we can fix our issue long term. And then, of course, the last part of the Kappa process is coming up with a prevention plan so that in future similar designs, these same type of issues aren't repeated and made over and over again. So that concludes the demonstration that I wanted to give today. What I really wanted to point out is that, again, we really provide tools for upfront inspection planning. So you can create your quality inspection plans, and then as your parts move through your shop floor or as they come in from outside vendors, you have a consistent process in place to determine whether or not parts are good or bad. In addition to that, we can very methodically implement corrective and preventive actions by using the application and capabilities that come out of the box with PLM 360. We can link the entire process from returns that a customer gives us all the way through to change orders. So this gives a nice closed-loop process to make sure that we can monitor the change and make sure that it gets implemented and improves the overall customer experience moving forward. And then finally, PLM 360 provides process and information traceability so that if you ever need to audit some of the changes that were made, or you ever need to understand why certain changes were made, all of that information is inside of the system and it's readily accessible for you to look at. Now, taking a step back here and talking about Autodesk PLM 360 in general, again, this is a cloud-based application that's very cost-effective. What's great about it is that as soon as you purchase it, it's ready to use. There's no hardware or expensive infrastructure that needs to be set up first. And as new functionality is added and the product's enhanced, there's no upgrades that you have to go through. It's always up to date. All of your new capabilities are ready to be used and implemented every time that PLM 360 is updated. In addition to that, as I've spoken previously in our presentation, the information inside of PLM 360 is accessible anywhere via mobile devices. So, if you're out in the field and you're looking at a customer problem, you can capture data. If you're inside of your plant, you can capture data. It's very flexible as far as accessing the information. It also comes with a comprehensive set of standard capabilities and standard templates that are all built to work together out of the box. And what's great about PLM 360 is, it does quality management, it does NPI process, it does change management, and all of those are included with PLM 360. So it's not like you start with BOM, then later buy a new module to expand to quality or to change management or other parts of PLM 360, but rather you get all of the sets of capabilities that come standard with the product. And then, as I mentioned earlier, it comes with templates that are flexible but really are straightforward to configure. So it helps you get up to speed quickly, and because it's expandable, you can start with one part of the process and then you can start adding new and additional capabilities over time. So we do want to just, again, a call of action here. We are going to start a recurring class that we're going to be offering. It's really a PLM 360 administrator class. The first one that we're going to conduct is going to be March 3rd and 4th, which will be a Thursday and Friday. We're going to be doing it live in our Brea office, but if you're not here in Brea, we will also have it available to attend remotely. What we're going to be covering, basically is the bill of material capabilities, the change management capabilities, classification, quality management, and then we're also going to be reviewing in this class how you can tailor the workspace to more align with the processes that you have internally with your company. Now, what's great about this administrator class is that we're going to review all the information that you would need to know to get started as an administrator, and it also includes a 30-day PLM 360 tenant that as we go through the exercises in this class, you'll be using your tenant to go through and do all the exercises, but you'll also have that tenant available for 30 days so that you can start looking at some of the internal processes you have, and maybe you can start with something small and have a few people do a mini pilot so that you can understand just how effective PLM 360 will be in helping you with your company's processes. The cost of this is $895, and again, we're going to have the signups will be on our website shortly, so would highly encourage you to sign up for this class. And like I mentioned, this is something that we're going to be doing on a regular basis moving forward. In addition to that, we have a lot of different resources that are available to you. And we have a blog where we constantly post updates, and we talk about new trends in industry, new enhancements to products. We keep you up to date with what's going on in the world around us from a technical perspective. We also have a YouTube channel. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And so, would love for you guys to join our group. We're very excited to have this time with you to share this information on these webcasts. And we highly encourage you to reach out to any of us if you have any questions. And we're always more than happy to help you understand how PLM 360 can help you and also with some of your other needs as well. So with that said, we thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to having you join us on our future webcast.